Hey everyone, I wanted to do a quick video on what I've been selling online and how I've done. So over the past year, I've been selling on Etsy, and I want to lay out some of my experiences with selling on Etsy and also how it's been for me. So if you've ever sold on Etsy or on any other marketplace like Etsy, like eBay or something like that, you'll usually encounter fees. So fees have been one of the unfortunate parts of my selling experience. Also shipping. So shipping costs are also pretty unexpected. So one of the things I've realized is shipping fees for me have been at minimal about $4 to $5 per order, and that really puts a damper into the margin or the profit of what you're selling. So let's say, for instance, you were printing and selling out these little articulated dragons. This isn't what I was selling. Someone else made this on Maker World. I just happened to print one out. But take this for instance. If you were selling these, you'd have to sell it for a minimum of the shipping cost plus the Etsy or eBay or whatever platform fees, Mercari, just to break even. Not considering taxes, not considering any other costs that you may incur, the cost of the filament, and the electricity that it took to run to print these out in the first place. So what that means then is whatever you're selling has to be worth the cost of printing and the cost of shipping, unless you get some sort of sweetheart setup where you can get lower shipping cost, or you're selling at a flea market or something like that. So that kind of precludes these little cute items like this, or like these little boats that people, these little benchies and stuff like that. And then that makes you want to sell things that are more functional. So functional prints or utility prints, right? But with that, I think with that, there's a few things or a few classes of items to sell. You can sell items like I was selling, like for instance, this is an item I'm no longer selling, but I was selling at the time. And these were caps to a cereal or snack dispenser, right? And these were doing very well. I was getting a few orders per day or per week, let's say, on average. But the other issue I would run into was compatibility. So while these might fit several different manufacturers' snack dispensers, there were a few others that did not fit, and they all look similar. So this is like having an aftermarket OEM product, right? And that's one of the issues of making something like that. So you could make, for instance, a cup holder for cars. You're gonna find yourself in a similar issue. You ship these out, and you put the dimensions on the website or the listing, and you're gonna find all these little edge cases where it doesn't fit this brand of car or model of car or what so have you. You're gonna find those edge cases, and to the best of my ability, I tried to exclude which models that my products did not work with, but time and time again, I ran into that issue. Second issue that I ran into, when you're selling products that are a complement or accessories, making sure to make as clear and plain as day that you are not selling the main item itself, but selling the accessory to that item. So like for instance, if you were selling, let's say you were selling some accessories for 3D printers even, being very meta. I don't know who would buy that, but let's just say you were. making sure that the person in the listing knows that you're not selling the 3D printer for $3. You're selling the accessory add-on for it, right? So making sure you edit your images properly so that there's no confusion. No one thinks that they're getting a steal of a deal from you for pennies on the dollar, and then being sorely disappointed like they've been cheated when there's no way you could even ship that item for the price. So that's something that's pretty, you have to do first and foremost with your listing. I'd also say that getting things sized out, people's sense of distance is not great. So even though we have this photo here, that's why you always see that quarter or nickel for scale, because people's sense of distance, it differs and they're not very good at it. So being able to tell them how many inches, how many centimeters, etc., millimeters the item is important. Even though I do that and have done that in my images, or I've learned to after a few refunds due to issues like that, I still would get orders where people were saying, this does not fit my accessory. So from now on, what I'm doing is I decided to stop selling that product. One, because it's a waste of my time to do that. And two, because I don't want to waste other people's time and build a bad reputation. I had lots of satisfied customers and good reviews, but I was essentially flipping a dime on how well the customer understood what I was selling, and if the manufacturer of their product was similar to mine or matched up with what my product had. So I was taking risk every time, and that's not what I want to do. So definitely when you're making a product, in my case, I was making a product for whitelisted products, and it was a white label product that had a particular problem. So whenever you look up cereal containers or cereal dispensers on Amazon or anything like that, you'll notice that they never have this cap. And this was a problem that I actually ran into in my real life. So I realized that cereal would come out of the bottom of the dispenser, or there might be crumbs at the bottom, and it's a real problem. The other issue though is that, one, these dispensers have been made ubiquitous, so you can see them everywhere in hotels and everywhere. And two, they're actually very cheap. So they're injection molded plastic, very cheap. You might find it for like $20, which limits how much I can sell the solution for, the accessory for. So if the entire dispenser is $20, I can't sell this for $20. I can't sell these caps in 3 packs and 2 packs for $20. I think you see the problem there. So whatever you make that's an accessory or add-on, make sure that what it's for is warranted. Like if I had made caps for expensive digital cameras and as a replacement, then I might be in business. The other problem I had was I need to have that product on hand. So unless I'm doing some fancy spec reviewing, and unless I have the actual product right in front of me, I can't design and spec out and test the exact dimensions the accessory product will be. And I can't test if it fits, and I can't test if it matches. So I couldn't, even if I wanted to, help all those people who had different cereal models or different versions or twists on the cereal dispenser, because I didn't own all those different cereal dispensers. And since they were white label, meaning that pretty much open source and so many people were changing the designs, I might have to buy 5 or 6 leading brand models, and I was not getting enough income or profit margin or profit to warrant me to buy those. I would have went in debt just to buy those. And I realized even if I did buy those just to get them fitted and find, the top 5 or 6 brands, I'd still confuse customers because they wouldn't know which brand they bought, and all of these look the same. So, confusing product to have in general. It's a good, well-intentioned solution. It fixed my problem. I no longer have crumbs on my thing, on my dispensers. It's fixed the problem for several of my customers, but all in all, difficult. If I could do it again, and I had different material, I would make a silicone-based product that was multi-fit. So every few millimeters or so, you know, it could, you could cut it down to size like a Dr. Scholl's insole. So that's the type of product I imagine would work for most of these people. But I don't have the technology, even with this AMS A1 setup or the filament, to make that. But if I were to take this seriously as a product and try to build it out, that's eventually what I would make. I'd have to make something out of silicone that would work for all these different use cases. So even if it didn't exactly fit their model, that they could make it fit, or they could cut it down to their model size. So that taught me a lot about, products in general and what to make and why to make it. So I think from now on, knowing what I know when I'm selling products, knowing that it takes about, let's say about $5 to $6 to make and ship a product. In order to make enough money and to turn this printer on, it needs to be worth maybe $30, just so that it's worth printing multiple copies, the hours spent in packaging, etc. And so it really makes you rethink what you want to print and why you want to print it. Not to mention the hours spent having to troubleshoot this 3D printer that I talked about or ranted about in the other video. Or in other videos. So yeah, that's it. I have made a couple $100. It might be close to the amount I've paid for the Bamboo Lab, but I've also had a lot of refunds. So net, not a lot, but I'd say it's enough refunds for me to signal to me to change up what I was selling. And even then, I just realized the longevity of a product like this doesn't make sense to keep shipping out stuff that in 1 in 4 cases, I might get a refund. So that doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. Especially at these low of price points, considering that the original product is $20 and what I was selling it at was a percentage of that price. But it doesn't make sense. The math doesn't work for that. So it is open source. It is on Maker World. You can freely, if you want to try to solve that problem, use some kind of silicone or, free product for you to try to sell. Feel free to inherit my headache if you feel like you can do it better. But yeah, with that, I'm going to move on to different products where I own the full experience, like something very unique where only I can sell, or I have the rights to sell for sure. And that I can print it out and it is a spectacle, or it is something that is completely unique, like these items here, that I can make a brand out of, that I can be known for, something that can show up online and has a distinct style. So that's what I'm going for now. All right, if you've been watching to the end, put something in the comments below to let me know. If you have any ideas or any ideas on what type of items I should be printing out, or what type of products you like seeing for sale, let me know in the comments. All right, thanks for watching.